Well, good afternoon. I think we'll just go ahead and get started here. Just a bit of admin before we get rolling. Just wanted to let you know that I'm going to keep everybody who's attending on mute for now. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature in GoToMeeting, and then I can answer them at the end, or if there's a little bit of extra time, I'll unmute people and we can go ahead and you can raise your questions then. So without any further ado, get going here. A little bit about eBECS first of all. We are a company totally 100% focused on the Microsoft stack. Stop that animation. We are focused on ERP, CRM, and business intelligence. We recently also acquired a nav practice. Let me stop that. And so we sorry about that. Let's just do it this way. Okay, so sorry about that. Page 10. Okay. So, like I said, focused on the Microsoft Stack, ERP, CRM, business intelligence, and a Navision practice. We've recently expanded our offerings into the cloud-based environment with Azure and managed services. We have been reseller of the year the last 5 of the 6 years. We didn't win it one of the other years because we were actually global partner of the year. We are a member of the Inner Circle, which is one of the top 1% of Microsoft partners, and we have our AMR certifications in both discrete manufacturing and professional services. My name is Laura Tipper. I'm a senior consultant here with eBECS. I've got 20 years experience with both large and small manufacturing companies and have been with Dynamics AX for the past 5 years. So today, this is our agenda for today. Going to go through a bit about procurement catalogs, the features and the capabilities that come with those, how you go ahead and create a procurement catalog, then configure it so it's set up like you want for your use in Enterprise Portal, how you then make the catalog available to Enterprise Portal, and then a little bit about how the users themselves would see and use that catalog in Enterprise Portal. Got some next step slides in case you want to proceed with things further, and then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for question and answers at the end. And most of my presentation here is done actually within the AX itself, so we get a lot of a chance to see how this all works within the system. All right, so procurement catalog features. The great thing about a procurement catalog is it provides users a very visual way to see and order products, basically to create a purchase requisition within the Enterprise Portal. It only requires a self-service license, so if you want to keep your license costs down, users can log into the Enterprise Portal, see a hierarchical structure of products, view the products with pictures if you put pictures against your released products. They can filter and search for the products, and depending upon their own settings, they might be able to see that in a different language as well. So they can go ahead and purchase those items that you have in your released products that have been published out to the Enterprise Portal, or if you've set it up so you can go ahead and allow users to purchase against just the procurement category without specifying a specific item. And that can be really useful for people wanting to buy various maybe stationery things or services or maybe health and safety things that you don't necessarily want to create as released products in your system, but you want to allow people to buy against that category, which will then allow you to be able to, have the costs go to the right ledger accounts and be able to report on those purchases as well. So you can create a catalog either from the procurement category hierarchy, which can be based on an industry standard. I've included a few of them here, or you have the capability to create the catalog manually and configure it however you like, or you can do a combination of both of those things. So that gives you a lot of flexibility in how you create your catalog. The steps to go ahead and create your catalog start with the configuring the procurement category. If you were going to create your catalog as recommended from a procurement category hierarchy, you'd want to configure that first. There's a lot of good features within the procurement hierarchy that then translate into the catalog. So it's recommended that you start from that point, even if you want to further modify the catalog in the catalog screens itself. So then from there, you create your procurement catalog, configure it, and set it up so the users have the best view of the system and how you want them to see the products and the categories. You have to set up your purchasing policies. There's one that's mandatory that has to be set up in order for someone to use the catalog, and there's some other optional ones that you can set up to control the purchasing by the different users. And then, of course, you have to make the catalog available onto the enterprise portal. And we'll walk through each of these steps in the demonstration here. So as I said, the first thing to do, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I do have another webinar out there talking about procurement category hierarchies themselves. So the nitty-gritty of how you do all of that procurement category hierarchy is, I would recommend you look at that other webinar, which is recorded and out on our website. But there's a couple of key aspects to that translate directly into the catalog that I wanted to go through today, and I'm going to just do that directly in the AX system. I'm running a 2012 R3 system here. So we're going to start here in the procurement and sourcing module of the system, and to go ahead and start with our procurement category hierarchy, I start over here in setup, categories, procurement categories. So this is my category I've set up. It's kind of the default Contoso with a few little changes I've made. So some of the key aspects that translate into the catalog that are important to set up here are the products. Of course, these are the products that will show up within Enterprise Portal against this specific category you have set up over here. So if we select a category on the left, the different products here you can see are the ones that the users will see within the Enterprise Portal. When we get into the catalog, you'll see that there's further ability to add to this list, but these are the ones, and this defines how the release products are set up in terms of where the general ledger postings would go based on your procurement category hierarchy. Another key aspect of what you want to set up here within your procurement category hierarchy is what are called product attributes. You can see here for computers, I've just thrown a couple in here having to do with HDMI port and drive capacity. And these, although I set them up here as an attribute that's applicable to all the products within my computer's category, you then go into the release products themselves, for example, all of these here, to define how many HDMI ports, what's the drive capacity for each of these. So just to give you a quick example here, let's see, I've got one set up. What do I have set up? Let's go to 1306. I look at product 1306 here under my release products. You'll see here product attributes are actually set up here. So I have got to create them within the catalog, but then I can set the specific values here. So for example, for this computer 1306, it's got 1,000 gigabytes and 2 HDMI ports. So I set the product attributes up here within the procurement category that I want to use, and this will allow users within the Enterprise Portal to filter for the computers with certain ranges of these. I've also got what are called inherited attributes. In this category, Office Machines is given an attribute of brand, and you can see then within the child categories, I can say they inherit the parent if I want them to inherit that parent as well. So no matter how low this tree goes, you can continue to have the inherited attributes go down further. Another aspect within the category hierarchy itself, there is the category attribute values. For computers here, I have it set up with a warranty attribute with a value of 60 days. That applies to all the computers within that category. And I also have what's called a category page. This is a page that displays in the top right. I'll show it real quickly here within my enterprise portal. I'll talk more about the enterprise portal and how this is set up when we get to the end of the demonstration. I just kind of want to give you a reference to where this information is viewable within EP once you set it up. So for computers, my category page is going to show up over here just above my shopping cart area. I'll show that in a second. Let me just show you here. So if you have a category page, the category page is actually, you can see I've got a pull down list of different category pages here, and these are set up within, you have to edit the category hierarchy to create them. The nice thing about the way that you can create these pages is that you can create them within as an HTML page, as a normal text, and then you get the ability to preview them. Mine's a very simple thing here, but you can add pictures and of course you do whatever you want within the HTML, and you get to preview it here and make sure you're happy with it before you pull it into the category itself. So if we look back here, you can see here at the top right of my computers category, this is my category page about requiring justification if you're ordering a computer not consistent with policy. So whatever you want to put there to alert the users when they're looking at a specific category, you can select that, set up and select that category page. But again, this is all done within the actual procurement category hierarchy, and is sort of a precursor to the catalog itself. So those are the key aspects of what you want to set up within your procurement category before you get going on your actual catalog. Again, there's a webinar out there that gives you more information on how all the different fast tabs here within the category hierarchy can be used. So like I said, product attributes, category pages, set them up in normal or HTML, and that's the basis of what you want to do in your category, in your hierarchy. So the next step, having done that, is to go ahead and create our catalog itself. Jump back here into AX, go back to procurement and sourcing. So the catalog itself is set up here under common catalogs, procurement catalogs. All right, here. So this is the one I've set up before. You can copy a catalog, or you can create a new catalog if you wanted to, give it whatever name. And you can see here, this is where I have the ability to base it on that procurement category hierarchy I was just working with. I could untick that and it will just create a completely blank catalog that I can manually build out as I want. I'm going to go ahead and escape out of that and use this one I've set up before. When you create a new one, whether you create it from the copy or create it from the existing procurement category hierarchy, it does come in as inactive so that you can go ahead and play around with it and get it like you like before you actually publish it out to the enterprise portal. So double click to open that. And again, this is the same sort of view that we saw in the procurement category hierarchy. It is the same structure we were looking at. Now, a couple of things about how you can manipulate this. So let's look first at how we go ahead and configure this aspect of it. So this is the tree structure, and I have the ability for these things that have come in via the procurement category hierarchy to disable them. So if I don't want them to be available to users in the enterprise portal, you can see some of these with the down arrow. Those are the ones that have been disabled. So no one will see those within the enterprise portal. I can't delete any that came in from there, but I can disable them. I can also add a category of my own. So by selecting a certain level of the tree, new child, you create your new child category. I've created electrical services here, and for ones that I've manually created, of course, I do have the ability to delete them if I wanted to. So the first step really is to go through this hierarchy tree structure and make sure it reflects what you want your users to see within Enterprise Portal. So we've created the catalog, and we're starting to configure it. Like I said, use the new child, the disable and delete feature to add and delete, disable the child categories in order to get the basic structure like you want it. And categories that came from that procurement category can't be deleted. So then we're going to go ahead and configure the catalog settings. I'm going to start way at the top. If I select the one at the highest level possible, it has its own unique set of settings here in these fast tabs. So it's important to go to the top first and go ahead and set up the catalog at the highest level here. If we look at the catalog settings in general here, some of these are the same for the child categories, but not all of them. So we have the name of the catalog itself. We have what's called an update type. You'll see here we have static, dynamic, and both. What that means is, as you can imagine, a static default update type means that will have to publish this catalog. I will have to force it onto the Enterprise Portal via the publish feature in order to have any changes become active. If it's all set up as dynamic, then any changes I make in here, as soon as they're saved, they become active on Enterprise Portal. And because I've got a combination of categories under here that have dynamic and static settings, I've got a default update type of both. Okay, so you can see here right now the catalog is active. I've been working with an active catalog here, and I've got the number of search results to display per page. So if a user is searching on a particular category for some items, this is just the number of results per page. The next thing here is users can search for products within a category based on a price range. And I've set up this 0 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 and above. It's kind of nice if it's got this nice feature that when I'm adding them here, you can either specify specific limits like that, or you can do like I had before, the 2,000 and above. So, or you could do 500 and under. So you've got that set of ranges you can set up however you like. And these are the default set of price ranges that apply across all of the categories unless you apply specific price ranges at a category level. So you can also set different price ranges. Perhaps some of these items are completely different price range, so you can set those. But if you haven't set one at the category level, this is the price range that will apply and that users can use to search for products in that price range. This is the splash screen that appears at the very front of the Enterprise Portal. If I go back to my Order Products main screen, so when you've got your welcome screen here, this is the presentation text that you're seeing. And again, you can set this up here with the same sort of features that we saw in the category page. You've got the ability to set that up, put pictures in it, set it up via HTML or normal text, and preview it before you publish it out to the Enterprise Portal. And finally, at the highest level here, what we have are what are called product relation types. I'm sure you've seen this sort of thing before on various other shopping sites on the web, where it recommends to a user, customers who bought this also bought. We have a number of different ones set up in the system, frequently bought together, retail accessory, retail related. So you can set these up here at the catalog level as to what the user will see for each of the products. I've got this one, customers who bought this also bought, set up. And so having defined that this is applicable across my catalog, then the relationships between those products are actually set up within the actual products themselves, again, similar to the way we set up attributes. So there's a lot of things you set up within the categories or catalogs that then are the specifics have to be defined within the released product. So if I look at my keyboard here, C0001, and I look at related products, you can see I've got a relation type of customers who bought this also bought this mouse. So when we look at this in Enterprise Portal, when somebody looks at C0001, they'll see that the mouse is a product that customers also bought. So you'd set all those up, define within your catalog here that that's the type of relationship you want to propose to the users, and then they'll be able to see that within the individual products. And we'll look a bit at that when we start looking at the Enterprise Portal and how the users use it. All right, so name, description, and owner of the catalog, our search results per page, our default price range filters, again, that apply if you don't have any category-specific price range. You've got your presentation text here for the front of your catalog, and then define which of the product relation types you want to use within your catalog. And of course, you can use more than one, but I've just got one set up for now. So now, having configured that at the highest level of my catalog, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you configure them at the lower levels. I'm going to use the computers one here. This is the one that has a lot of stuff in it. There are, you'll see, a few more settings up in the navigation category settings. One of the things is the map text. When it's ticked like this, all this, you can see all of this is grayed out here. This is the name and the description that have come in from our procurement category. If I want to provide the users maybe a more descriptive name that wasn't set up within the category hierarchy itself, I can untick that and I can put some other descriptive name within this, and it will show up in Enterprise Portal. I take that out of edit mode. You can see I've got a dynamic update type here. So if I go back to Enterprise Portal and I look at my Office machines and I refresh this, you can see that the text here has changed: computers, laptops, etc. So this is the name that now shows up in Enterprise Portal. So it's often at times the case where the procurement category names are set up pretty sparsely, and then you want something maybe a bit more informative to the users within Enterprise Portal. So you just untick your map text there and change the name as you see fit. You've also got the capability under here in the procurement site display settings. If you have, for example, a lot of child categories, subcategories under something, and you don't want it to be a whole range of things. For example, under office and desk accessories, you can see I've got envelopes and staplers and scissors. Perhaps you want users to have access to the products, but don't really want them to have 7 different subcategories here. If I tick this hide the subcategories, what happens is you get all the products still visible to the users, but it's no longer in a bunch of different subcategories. It's available only at the parent level. So if you have, particularly if you have a bunch of subcategories, maybe that don't each have a whole bunch of products in them, you can tick this and they all roll up into the parent category. It's just how you want to have it set up and what's the most expedient way for users to work within Enterprise Portal, depending upon your products and your categories. You've also got this show order from category here. That allows you, if I've got that, this is where it allows the user to order a computer that isn't necessarily in this list. So they will order it against the computer procurement category. Therefore, all of the ledger codes get driven by how you have the computer's procurement category set up, but they don't have to necessarily choose something in this list. So if you untick that, then you restrict them to only buying within the released products that you have in that category. So it's up to you. Like I said, a lot of times there are categories, particularly for services or stationery items, where people are allowed to purchase without having to specify something that's in released products. And finally, we have the default browsing page here within Enterprise Portal in your order products, you have three different tabs here. You have the products that come in from release products. You have vendors in case we've imported vendor catalogs, and then we have external website links. So depending upon which the users might be using most frequently, you can go ahead and set up the default page for that category. And here, because most of what people are buying in this category are the products listed in the category, I've got product as the default page. So under products, you can see here a range of products. You can see that most of them have come in from the procurement category itself, but I do have a few that I have manually added. And it's important that we can manually add them here because you can only assign a product to a single procurement category. So if you want these devices, these products to show up in multiple categories here within Enterprise Portal, you need to manually add them. So now the scanner, for example, can be shown in the computers, and it can also be in photocopiers or anywhere else. So if you want them in multiple categories within Enterprise Portal, it's important to go ahead and manually add them here. That's the only way to get them in two categories at once. Another thing I want to cover up here, speaking of having things in multiple categories, is you may have a need to have an entire category replicated in multiple places in here. For example, if I wanted to go ahead, let's see, what do I want to do here? So if I want to, under Office and Desk Accessories, if I want to have, perhaps I want to have copiers under here as well. You've got to manually create that as a new child. So I can say copiers. But I don't want to go ahead and recreate all the data, of course, that's already existent under photocopiers. So I'm just going to make my new category copiers be a link over to photocopiers. So I'm going to select the shortcut display category, and then I've got my drop down here, and I can find my photocopiers. And then within Enterprise Portal now, a user has the copier information in two different places. Refresh my screen here. You can see here it's under Office Machines and copiers under Office and Desk Accessories. So I've got them in the same place twice without having to have created all that information in two places. So if I go back to my computers, carrying on down the different things I can set up. So vendors here, this is where my vendors are set up, and these have all come from the procurement category. Again, I could add more vendors here manually. Details button just opens up the vendor detail form within AX. If you have any external catalog links, these are what appear on that third tab in the catalog, and I don't have any set up here, but you could go ahead and add links to external vendor catalogs if you wish. Filter range. Filter range is where we take those product attributes that we set up in the procurement category, and we can provide filter ranges on them. So for drive capacity, for example, I've set up two different filter ranges, 0 to 500 gig, 500 and above, and these have the same abilities that we saw in our price range in order to say, to define specific limits, or to go ahead and say, and above or below. So these will now be available for users within, you can see within my computers category, I have the price range and I have the different drive capacity filter settings here, which a user can use to find their products. Okay. And then in this example here, I've chosen to have its own unique price range. If I didn't have a price range set up here, again, the one that was set up at the top level of the catalog would apply. So just reviewing what we talked about there. So at the top of each category, you can map the text to the procurement category or define your own name and description. You have the ability to have a default update type of static or dynamic to decide whether the changes are automatically updated or you must synchronize the data. You can also set up a category that you create yourself as a shortcut to another existing category. Show order from category allows you to place an order against the category if you haven't found the item in the category already. You can hide your subcategories so that all the products roll up into the parent, and you can set your default browsing page to be products, vendors, or external websites. In the Products Fast tab, you can add any products, which allows you to have a product existing in multiple categories. And in the Vendors Fast tab, you can add vendors that were not already in the category. Adding external catalog links if you've set those up within your system, and defining your filter ranges and your price range filters. So having done that, the next thing we need to do is go ahead and set up our purchasing policies. Purchasing policies are in the Procurement and Sourcing section. And purchasing policies have a number of unique features. They provide controls to users and user groups in order to control what they're able to purchase, and also sets up different policies about how the products and vendors are controlled within the procurement category and its hierarchy. Now I've got a policy here that's applicable to the entire company of Contoso USA, but you can actually set that up based upon an organizational hierarchy. The procurement category webinar that's out there that you can view has a bit more information about the different policies and how you use them. A lot of them are not applicable specifically to doing a catalog. So the important thing when you're setting up your catalog, the one mandatory one that you must define is your catalog policy rule. And this is a very simple policy. If I double click on this to open it, you can see it's just defining the name of our catalog. There's only one catalog in our system, so it's a pretty easy selection here. But if you had multiple catalogs and you wanted to define which is the current catalog for users, you can go ahead and select it here. And of course, you could have an expiration date so that a certain catalog expires at a certain date, perhaps if your prices were about to change or something. A second important one is your category access policy rule. And this defines which of the categories users can purchase from. Now, what this actually does is, even if the catalog has the category displayed, only if the category is selected here will you actually see the products. So in other words, the catalog itself and how you have your display settings set here and what is enabled and disabled controls the categories that are displayed in Enterprise Portal, but the policy controls the products within those categories that actually show up in Enterprise Portal. So if I didn't have computers, for example, here in my selected categories, I would still see the computers category, but all those computers that exist within my category and are linked to that category wouldn't show up. It would just be a blank category, and the users would be unable to purchase from it. And that's how you would go ahead and control maybe who within a particular part of your organization has access to different parts of the category and its hierarchy. So I'm going to make sure I have my computers selected, and of course if you have subcategories here and you want to just do it in one fell swoop, I could select office machines, include subcategories, and office machines and all the subcategories are included here for purchasing. Okay, and you'll see this is one of the policies that every time you edit it, it just makes a new policy automatically. So you can see right now, and today I've gone ahead and created my new policy just by changing it. Some of the policies here, you actually have to retire them first and create a new one. So if you're working with policies and it's not kind of doing what you want it to do, if you open a policy and you try to change it and it's not letting you change it, it's probably because it's one of the policies that you have to first retire before you can then go ahead and create a new one. It's not consistent in that some of them allow you to change them, which creates the new one by default, and some of them require you to actually retire them. So those are the two key policies that you have to set up in order to work with your catalog and your categories within it. So the catalog policy rule, which is mandatory in order to define which is your catalog, the users will get an error message if that's not set up. And then the category access policy to define who can purchase from which categories. The next thing is we need to make that catalog available into Enterprise Portal. So I go ahead and close my catalog there. So here I can go ahead and publish it. Now this publishing, if I had all of my update types, default updates types set to dynamic, I wouldn't have to do this, but some of mine are static and some are dynamic, so it's the publishing to the procurement site that actually pushes all those changes out onto Enterprise Portal. It's a pretty quick process for my catalog. The second aspect is that if there's been any changes to your actual products, you need to make sure that the products themselves are synchronized onto Enterprise Portal. And that's done here under the periodic setting. Now you can set this up. This is under Employee Services. I have a synchronized product search data. You can set this up as a batch job to run periodically so that if users are making changes to the released products throughout the day, that those get updated automatically, maybe at a nightly frequency. I've got just mine set up here without a batch, so I'll just manually go ahead and publish all that data up to the Enterprise Portal. Simple as that. Sorry about that. Looks like my audio connection dropped out. So just to repeat that, so under the synchronized product search data here, you can set this up like I was saying. I don't know what cut out there. You can set this up as a batch to run nightly in case users are making changes to release products throughout the day or new release products are coming online within your company. You can set that up to run nightly or a couple of times a day. I've got mine just to set up manually. So I do this and all the latest release product information gets published out to Enterprise Portal and is available out to the users. So activate and publish your catalog, synchronize your product via the synchronized product search data. So now, how would the users see that data and how would they work with it to order products? So jumping here into I'm working here in Employee Services. So within Employee Services, it's I'll bring you back to this is the Employee Services screen, the one that users get to when they, if they're just a self-service user and have access only to this website. There's lots of different capabilities here, but we're here under Order Products with our shopping cart. This is that splash screen that's defined at the top level of our catalog, and then here's the hierarchy that we've set up with only the enabled categories visible. So under our office machines, we have our computers category where we change the text by unticking the map text box, and these are all the products that show up in that category. You can see some products have pictures that have been set up within them and some of them don't. But this gives the users a view that's very familiar to them. If they've done any other shopping online, it's much more user-friendly than just having to open a purchase requisition and do a drop down to try and find a product. I can use my price range filters I've got set up here. I can use my drive capacity or any other product attribute filters I've got set up here. Obviously got too few of these things set up with different criteria. And you can see it gives them the item number and any ratings that might have been defined. I don't have any ratings within my system, your price, currency, and your shopping cart. So if you go ahead and select the individual items, actually I'm going to select a different item here. Take that. I can also up here at the top, another image, you can search by name. I do have that ability at the top to go ahead and do my searching by name, so it would find any mice. Now you can see there's a bit of information displayed here, but of course there's more displayed by clicking the hyperlinks. So here's a lot of the data that we have set up for the items. So if it's a configurable item, this is where you would configure it. You can choose color here, or if you've got the other configuration settings set up for your product, this is where you set them up. A number of different pictures. This is the larger product description available within the released product. These are the attribute details I showed you how you set up within the product, release product itself, the brand, which was a attribute that came in from the parent, from the Office machines, and the drive capacity and HDMI ports that we set up against the release product itself. User reviews, if any users have put in reviews, those are available there. These are the order requirements. These are the default order settings within the release product, if you've worked with that, under the Manage Inventory tab in a release product. So if there are minimum, maximum, and standard order quantities and multiples, you can set them up here. And the user, if they tried to order something that was in the wrong multiple or something, it would actually round that up automatically. Purchase lead time, they can see that, and what the purchase unit is here. Trade agreements, you can see I've got a couple of different trade agreements set up here with a vendor for different prices, same price, different colors, so the users can see those as well. And this is those related products. Customers who bought this also bought, and this is our mouse, so that's where the related products come into view as well. So having these details here, the users can just go ahead and add that to their cart. Get messages to add it to your cart. You can see at the top I've also got my cart button here. Go ahead and add something to my cart. All right, so having added our bits and pieces to our cart, the next thing is want to close out my order. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my cart. And go ahead and complete my order, checkout order here. I could also choose to add it to an existing order. So if I had an order out there that hadn't been submitted yet, which is basically the same process as submitting a purchase requisition to workflow, if I had one out there that hadn't been submitted yet, I could just add these to an existing order so you can keep building up your order over time. I'm going ahead and doing this as a new order. So it's got my name. I can change that to something more descriptive perhaps, because when I look at my orders, this will be the name that I see. So I find it very useful to put in a name that will help me identify this order specific from another order I might have placed. So computer and scanner, reason, and of course the the requirement for a reason is defined within your system. You may not require users to enter a business justification, but if you do, that's where they'll put it in here and provide any additional information. And if they're allocating it to a specific project, they can pick a project here that the purchase is made against. And this is my requested date. So I fill that out. This is, if you're familiar with purchase recs in AX, this is a lot of the header information that appears on a purchase requisition. I'm going to go ahead and take this one off because this product has obviously clearly not been set up properly. So I'll just go ahead and purchase my keyboard there. And when I press submit, the submit is actually submitting it to workflow within AX for approval. All purchase requisitions have to go through workflow approval. Even if you've set the workflow up to be an automatic approval, they have to go through approval. So I press submit. So you can see I've got a purchase requisition number that's been submitted, and I can close that out. You can see here under my orders, this is where I can view the orders I've placed over time and see the status of them. Right, and this is why I say changing the name of your purchase requisition is useful, because just your name and the date isn't very helpful if you're trying to look back through your orders and remember what you bought. So I generally change the name. You can see these are all just in request created and haven't been approved yet. You see the date and the requested date. So that's fundamentally how the users go ahead and buy against the procurement catalog, and how we go ahead and set it up. So all the different information you can see against the product, add it to your cart, open your shopping cart, and check out your order to go ahead and complete that and send it up to a purchase requisition. I'm going to go ahead and take the mute off in case anybody has any questions here. We do have a little bit of time. So, do you have any questions before I move on to the kind of final next step slides?
Just kind of doing your here. And that's the account relationship. We don't give a shit.
Okay. Well, if anybody's got anything, they can use the chat feature there. We've got a number of other webinars coming up. We've got a great webinar about the Power BI capabilities that are really powerful, and comparing those to how you would use them versus the traditional BI. Our BI solution architect is doing that webinar on Friday. The product configurator, if you want to learn how to configure your products, some of which we could have seen here in our catalog. Process manufacturing, utilizing BI for data migration to ease your data migration. There's some powerful tools there as well. And then I've got my procurement categories and purchase requisitions one in April as well. If you're interested in any of those, you can find those on our website under the events. There's also some upcoming events. We might hope to see you there. There's the Microsoft Envision in New Orleans. There's an AME Lean Summit in Atlanta at the beginning of May. AXUG has a couple of events in the middle and in the fall. And so if you want to see us there, we present an awful lot of seminars in these events, and be happy to see you there and answer any questions you might have on AX or the services that we can provide. If you want to seek anything further, we have a project audit. If you're looking at, if you have a current project or you're looking to upgrade, we can have a have a review of that for you, or do a supply chain health check and do a review of your supply chain and see what improvements we can make to sort of streamline things for you. You can find those on our website again at eBECS.com. So that's all I've got for today, actually, if anybody doesn't have any questions. If you have any questions for me, feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer anything you might have, and hope to see you in one of those events or see you at one of the next webinars. And have a good afternoon. Thanks very much.